got it?
Yep.
Okay, so you should have your piece of paper towel. You should have your piece of paper towel. You should have your small piece of watercolor paper, a pencil, a number 6 or 8 brush, your water, and a dark color, blue or green is what I'd like you to use for this. So a loaded brush, and watch first. Take your brush. Loaded brush is loaded with water. Watch first, please. And I'm going to get this in the pigment, and I really want to make sure I get a lot of water here on my loaded brush, and I'm just going to do that. Okay? So you're going to now label this loaded brush. So do that now. We're going to do the dry brush. So notice, watch first. I'm going to gently squeeze the water out. And I'm mostly going to get like the pigment. I don't want to get much water at all. Some of you actually did this kind of technique with your acrylic. And then you're going to, if you get too much, it's going to be hard to see. But you should be able to see the texture of the paper. So here's what it looks like.
Oh, mine was terrible.
Okay, it's this dry brush. Now the next one is tip only. So again, watch first. I'm going to take my brush gently and just kind of twist it to make a tip. And then grab some pigment, and using the tip of my brush, I just want to make some like curly cues using only the tip. And you can label it tip only, and it should look like this. Something called side only. And try this. There's two, more than two, but we're going to do 2 side only. Side only with a really high pigment loaded brush. So I'm just kind of twisting it mostly on that paint chunk there. And watch first, please. Side only. So I'm kind of just going back and forth on the side. You don't want to do it more than a couple of times because, again, the more you go over watercolor, the more you break down the fibers of the paper. So, and then you can do side only with kind of less pigment, kind of get it really watery. And there wasn't much of a difference there, but the idea is to try to make 2 different washes. So it should look something like this. You can do side only. This is a better example of side only. This obviously had, so changing pressure. So again, you want to get your pigment, watch first. This is very much like what we did in Art Fundamentals with charcoal and talking about, obviously, the more pressure you put on, the darker, the less. You can do thick and thin, light and dark. Just make a cool, interesting line and change your pressure. Is called whisking. Once again, watch first. So again, I'm going to do my little, I'm kind of just drawing out my brush, making a little point, grabbing some pigment. And again, how much pigment, it's up to you. It depends on what you're doing. Remember, always we want to think about white, light, and slowly get darker. So whisking is, again, using the tip of your brush and holding on to it to get like a whisk effect.
Looks like some nice grass.
Okay, so, the next one is, watch please, scraping the end of your brush after you've applied paint. Watch first. So I'm getting kind of a loaded brush. I'm making an area of paint. Now I'm going to take the end of my brush and actually make some marks in this. And this is good for like marshes, landscape, grass, where you want some texture. And that is called scraping with end of brush. Is called stamping. Please watch first. Again, I would kind of dry out your brush a little bit and then get it mostly on the pigment. And stamping is you're kind of holding your brush at an angle, but there's quite a bit of pigment on the end, and hang on before you do it so I can show you. And again, what do you use this for? It depends. Like if you're, again, landscape, I can see where this might be the good start of cat nine tails or
Cat nine tails.
you know, something of that
Sounds
sort.
like a Yu-Gi-Oh
So
card.
this is called stamping. Aha, much better.
Shawty got chills.
Okay, the last one, you guys, you probably have done this or at least heard of this one, wet and wet. So you rinse your brush completely with a lot of water. Watch first, please. And now I'm painting the water on here. Now I'm immediately getting pigment and I'm going back in and getting this cool, I think probably most people have at least tried something like this, wet and wet. And obviously if I hold my paper vertically, you can see what happens to the water and the pigment. Next, and we're gonna have a few class periods to work on this, and this will probably just take us to the end, okay? What we're going to do is tape off sections using the tape, the skinny tape. First, we're gonna make a border somewhere. It doesn't have to be completely in the middle. It can be on the bottom, on the side. You need to tape off something like a 4x6 rectangle, okay? The other areas, you're going to just tape randomly. Does that make sense? Okay. And then I'll tell you what we're going to do next, okay? After your board is taped like this, can you all look, please? After it's taped up like this, the other thing that you might want to do is rip some little pieces of tape, or I would like you to do this, in these, randomly in these areas, okay? So that's the next step. Can you guys all stop for a second? Once you have this down, okay, once you have it down, you're going to choose two colors. The colors need to be something like this, like blue and yellow, okay? Or if you want to use like the cadmium red and blue, that's fine, or the yellow ochre and a red. That's fine. But please don't use any, some of those palettes have that bright green or an orange. Please don't choose something like that. Choose a mellow-ish color, okay? What you're going to do is, and this is what I'll be looking for at the end, is I want you to take this sheet, make sure you refer to this sheet, and in a way, it's a little bit random, it's a little bit experimental. Can everybody look up here, please? It's a little bit random, a little bit experimental, but I would like in all of the squares, not the landscape, please leave that blank. Everywhere else, I would like you to practice going from white to light and practice using all of these in these squares around here. And if you look carefully, you'll notice all of these are used in around here.
Okay.
Leave the middle big space blank.